Hi! Story time with Aly Wallace. Today I'm going to be reading The Ugly Duckling. It's cute though. It was near the time of harvest. The old women were making green dolls from the corn sheaves. The old men were mending the blankets. The girls were embroidering their white dresses with blood-red flowers. The boys were singing as they pitched golden hay. The women were knitting scratchy skirts for the coming winters. The men were helping to pick and pull and cut and hoe the fruits the field had brought forth. The wind was just beginning to loosen the leaves a little bit more, and then a little more, each day. And down by the river there was a mother duck brooding on a nest of eggs. Everything was going as it should for this mother duck, and finally, one by one, her eggs began to tremble and shake until the shells cracked, and out staggered all her new ducklings. But there was one egg left, a very big egg. It just sat there like a stone. An old duck came by, and the duck mother showed off her new children. "Aren't they good looking?" she bragged. But the unhatched egg caught the old duck's attention, and she tried to dissuade the duck mother from sitting on that egg any longer. "It's a turkey egg," exclaimed the old duck. "Not a proper kind of egg at all. Can't get a turkey into the water, you know." She knew, for she had tried. But the duck mother felt that she had been sitting for such a long time, a little longer would not hurt. "I'm not worried about that," she said. "But do you know that scoundrel father of these ducklings hasn't come to visit me once?" But eventually the big egg began to shudder and roll. It finally broke open, and out tumbled a big, ungainly creature. His skin was etched with curly red and blue veins. His feet were pale and purple, his eyes transparent pink. The duck mother cocked her head and stretched her neck and peered at him. She couldn't help herself. She pronounced him ugly. "Maybe it is a turkey after all," she worried. But when the ugly duckling took to the water with the other offspring, the duck mother saw that he swam straight and true. "Yes, he's one of my own, even though he's very peculiar in appearance. But actually, in the right light, he's almost handsome." So she presented him to the other creatures in the farmyard. But before she knew it, another duck shot across the courtyard and bit the ugly duckling right in the neck. The duck mother cried, "Stop!" But the bully sputtered. "When he looks so he looks so strange and ugly. He needs to be pushed around." And the queen duck with the red rag on her leg said, "Oh, another brood? As though we didn't have enough mouths to feed. And that one over there, that big ugly one, well, surely he was a mistake." "He's not a mistake," said the duck mother. "He's going to be very strong. He just laid in the egg too long and is yet a little misshapen. He'll straighten out, though, you'll see." She groomed the ugly duckling's feathers and licked his cowlicks. But the others did all they could to harass the ugly duckling. They flew at him, bit him, pecked him, hissed, and screeched at him. And their torment of him grew worse as time went on. He hid, he dodged, he zigzagged left and right, but he could not escape. The duckling was as miserable as any creature could be. At first his mother defended him, but then even she grew tired of it all and exclaimed in exasperation, "I wish you would just go away." And so the ugly duckling ran away, with most of his feathers pulled out, and looking extremely bedraggled. He ran and ran until he reached a marsh. There he lay down at the water's edge with his neck stretched out and sipped as he could from the water now and then. From the rushes 2 ganders watched him. They were young and full of themselves. "Stay there, you ugly thing," they sniggered. "Want to come with us over to the next county? There's a gaggle of young unmarried geese over there just right for the choosing." Suddenly shots rang out, and the ganders fell with a thud, and the marsh water ran red with their blood. The ugly duckling dived for cover, and all around were shots and smoke, and dogs barking. At last the marsh became quiet, and the duckling ran and flew as far away as he could. Toward nightfall he came to a poor hovel. Hovel? The door was hanging by a thread. There were more cracks than walls. Here lived an old raggedy woman with her uncombed cat and her cross-eyed hen. The cat earned her keep with the old woman by catching mice. The hen earned her keep by laying eggs. The old woman felt lucky to have found a duck. Maybe it will lay eggs, she thought, and if not, we can kill it and eat it. So the duck stayed, but he was tormented by the cat and hen, who asked him, "What good are you if you cannot lay and you cannot catch?" "What I love best," sighed the duckling, "is to be under, whether it is under the wide blue sky or under the cool blue water." The cat could make no sense of being under water, and criticized the duckling for his stupid dreams. The hen could make no sense of getting her feathers all wet, and she made fun of the duckling too. In the end, it was clear there would be no peace for the duckling there, so he left to see if things would be better down the road. He came upon a pond. As he swam there, it became colder and colder. A flock of creatures flew overhead, the most beautiful he had ever seen. They cried down to him, and hearing their sounds made his heart leap and break at the same time. He cried back in a sound he had never made before. He had never seen creatures more beautiful, and he had never felt more bereft. He turned and turned in the water to watch them till they flew out of sight. Then he dove to the bottom of the lake and huddled there, trembling. He was beside himself, for he felt a desperate love for those great white birds, and a love he could not understand. A colder wind began, and blew harder and harder through the days, and snow came upon frost. The old man broke the ice in the milk pails, and the old woman spun long into the night. The mothers fed 3 mouths at once by candlelight, and the men searched for sheep under the white skies at midnight. The young men went waist deep in the snow to go milking, and the girls imagined that they saw faces of handsome young men in the flames of the fire while they cooked. And down at the pond nearby, the duckling had to swim faster and faster in circles to keep a place for himself in the ice. One morning the duckling found himself frozen in the ice, and it was then he felt he would die. 2 mallards flew down and skidded onto the ice. They surveyed the duck. "You are ugly," they barked. "Too bad, so sad. Nothing can be done for such as you." And off they flew. Luckily a farmer came by and freed the duckling by breaking the ice with his staff. He lifted the duckling up and tucked him under his coat and marched home. In the farmer's house the children reached for the duckling, but he was afraid. He flew up to the rafters, making all the dust fall down into the butter. From there he dove right into the milk pitcher, and he struggled out all wet and woozy. He fell over into the flour barrel. The farmer's wife chased him with her broom, and the children screamed with laughter. The duckling flapped through the cat's door, and outside at last lay in the snow, half dead. From there he struggled on till he came to another pond, then another house, another pond, another house, and the entire winter was spent this way, alternating between life and death. And even so, the gentle breath of spring came again, and the old woman shook out the feather beds, and the old men put away their long underwear. New babies came in the night, while fathers paced the yards under starry skies. During daylight, the young girls put daffodils in their hair, and young men studied girls' ankles. And on a pond nearby, the water became warmer, and the ugly duckling who floated there stretched his wings. How strong and big his wings were! They lifted him high over the land. From the air he saw the orchards in their white gowns, the farmers plowing, the young of all of nature hatching, tumbling, buzzing, and swimming. Also paddling on the pond were 3 swans. The same beautiful creatures he had seen the autumn before, those that so caused his heart to ache. He felt pulled to join them. What if they act as though they like me, and then just as I join them, they fly away laughing, thought the duckling. But he glided down and landed on the pond, his heart beating hard. As soon as they saw him, the swans began to swim towards him. No doubt I am about to meet my end, thought the duckling. But if I am to be killed, then rather by these beautiful creatures than by hunters, farm wives, or long winters. And he bowed his head to await the blows. But in the reflection of the water he saw a swan in full dress. Snowy plumage, slow eyes, and all. The ugly duckling did not at first recognize himself, for he looked just like the beautiful strangers, just like those he had admired from afar. And it turned out that he was one of them after all. His egg had accidentally rolled into a family of ducks. He was a swan, a glorious swan, and for the first time, His own kind came near him and touched him gently and lovingly with their wing tips. They groomed him with their beaks and swam around and around him in greeting. And the children who came to feed the swans bits of bread cried out, "There's a new one!" And as children everywhere do, they ran to tell everyone, and the old women came down to the water, unbraiding their long silver hair. And the young men cupped the deep green water in their hands and flicked it at the young girls who blushed like petals. The men took time away from milking just to breathe the air. The women took time away from mending just to laugh with their mates. And the old men told stories about how war is too long and life is too short. And one by one, because of life and passion and time passing, they all danced away. The young men, the young women, all danced away. And the old ones, the husbands, the wives, they all danced away. The children, the swans, all danced away, leaving just us and the springtime, and another mother duck down by the river nesting on her eggs.